So these two programs have combined for 17 out of the 27 Big 12 football championships. Now, obviously, 14 of those belong to OU, 3 to the Longhorns. That includes one year where I think OU and K-State maybe shared the title. Remember, there was a stretch there where there was no Big 12 championship game. So, with that duo now exiting for the SEC, it perhaps leaves a vacancy in this power position in the Big 12. So do you guys think that the new Big 12 will be more wide open and competitive, or can someone else kind of ascend to that place as kind of the top dog? How do you kind of view that?
I've answered every question first, so I'll let Zach answer this.
There you
go. Yeah, I think that there's a good chance that the Big 12, in a way, kind of turns into kind of how the Pac-12 is now, if that makes any sense, where like there's a bunch of really, really good teams that kind of cannibalize themselves before the postseason comes. And, you know, it's the constant narrative is, can the Big 12 get over the hump? How can it? There's no one, we all look at USC right now is really good. Oregon's really good. Washington's really good, but they've all got to play each other, and maybe none of them make the playoff. So I think that, I guess that changes with the 12-team playoff coming down the road. But long story short, I don't know. I think it's going to be a very competitive conference, and I think that there's going to be a lot of teams competing for playoff spots, including Baylor, including Texas Tech. So, yeah.
What do you think?
I don't see any way that one program emerges and sustains the level of dominance that Oklahoma sustained in this conference for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And now those championships, so their championship numbers, 14 out of 27. I mean, every other year.
Right.
On average, Oklahoma's won the conference, and remember that those first few years, Oklahoma was the first few years of the Big 12. Oklahoma was in a really down cycle, one of the worst cycles of our lifetimes, and so really those championships were condensed into an even shorter period. I don't see any of those schools rising to that level of dominance. I do think it's very much wide open once Oklahoma and Texas leave. And to me, I wrote this week. I think one of the aggravating things in Texas Tech's case, and I guess probably in Baylor's case too, is that it's pretty wide open to be, up there in the third position behind Texas and OU this year, and Texas Tech has blown that opportunity. With upset loss at Wyoming, upset loss at West Virginia. I mean, this team by all rights, should be 4-1, and heck, they blew 2 leads late in the Oregon game. I mean, Tech could easily be 5-0 had they played at the level that they played at in the Texas Bowl. And yes, I know it's a new year, but it's largely the same cast of characters who played as well as they did in the Texas Bowl, and they haven't followed it up this year. So that's kind of the irritating. I think, again, from a Texas Tech standpoint, that's kind of the irritating thing, is they very well could be, and I think should be, right up there trying to get a little bit of the spotlight that Texas and Oklahoma have now. But going forward from 2024 and on, I think it's an interesting conference from the standpoint of you have so many programs that have had high points in their history and have had good teams in their history, yet none of those programs really, I would say, is what you'd call a traditional, power.
Right.
On the level of an Alabama.
Yeah, a brand name. Yeah.
Or Texas or an Oklahoma or Ohio State or Michigan, like a Southern Cal. So I think from year to year, it's going to be very, very, very open. It's going to be what program has kept together a group of veteran players who this is their year. I think we'll see a lot of that passed around from one year to the next. Very like Zach said a moment ago, I think a lot like the Pac-12. Yeah, I think a lot like the Pac-12 kind of in years past. I think you'll have a lot of entertaining, high-scoring games, and a lot of games that are like kind of like this weekend, where it's like one team is favored by a point. It's a toss-up game. It's whichever team plays the best. And like I say, I have a hard time thinking of an analogy to a conference that we've seen in our lifetimes. Rice. We're couple of the older guys here. Where you've had a lot of good teams in the conference, but like I say, no traditional power blue blood type of program.
Yeah, I think those are good points. When OU and Texas first announced they were leaving, I wrote a column at some point where I mentioned that Baylor and Oklahoma State could potentially ascend to be maybe the new powers in the Big 12 just because they had been relatively consistent. I wrote that column before Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado were coming to town. That does sort of change the dynamic, and I think it makes it even more wide open. But I agree with you guys. I think it'll probably be a pretty competitive conference with different teams stepping up in different years. I could see Utah being, the class of the league one year, and maybe a Baylor or Texas Tech or BYU or somebody another year. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.